Have you ever wondered why in today's world, where everything moves at lightning speed, people still feel lost, anxious, and unfulfilled? We scroll endlessly. We chase goals, yet peace seems to slip further away. But what if I told you that the answers are not hidden in some futuristic invention, but in ancient wisdom? Stories that were whispered thousands of years ago, yet remain more relevant than ever in 2025. Today in this video, I will share with you 4 timeless Zen-inspired tales. Each story carries a seed of truth, simple, gentle, but powerful enough to transform how you see life. So sit back, breathe slowly, and let these words be your mirror. The first story begins now. Long ago, in a small village nestled between mountains, there lived a humble stonecutter. His name was Hiroto. Every day he would walk to the rocky cliffs, break stones, and carry them down to sell. His back ached, his hands were rough, and often he would look at the wealthy people in town and sigh, "Why was I born to suffer while others live in comfort?" One hot afternoon, exhausted from his work, Hiroto sat under a tree and whispered, "If only I could be rich, then I would finally be happy." To his surprise, a gentle wind passed through the leaves, and a voice seemed to echo, "Your wish shall be granted." When Hiroto opened his eyes, he was no longer a poor stonecutter. He was now the richest man in town, living in a grand house, wearing silk robes, eating delicacies. For a while he was content, but soon he noticed that even the richest men bowed before the king. "Riches are nothing compared to power," he thought. "I wish to be the king." And again the mysterious voice whispered, "Your wish shall be granted." Suddenly, Hiroto was no longer a merchant but a king on a throne. Crowds obeyed him, servants rushed to please him, and his words carried weight. Yet, even as king, he felt restless. One summer day, he looked up and saw the sun blazing in the sky. Its light was so powerful that even kings had no control over it. "Ah, the sun is greater than all. I wish to be the sun." And the wish was granted. Now Hiroto shone brightly in the sky, spreading warmth, blazing fiercely. But soon he realized the clouds could block his light. No matter how strong he was, the clouds covered him with ease. So he wished to be a cloud, floating above the world, free and mighty. The voice granted his wish. As a cloud, he drifted over villages, pouring rain, darkening the skies. He felt powerful until he noticed the wind could move him wherever it pleased. Angry, he wished to become the wind itself, and once again, the wish was fulfilled. Now, as the wind, he roared across valleys, shaking trees, sweeping through cities. But one day he struck against a huge mountain, and no matter how fiercely he blew, the mountain stood unshaken. This is true strength, Hiroto thought. I wish to be the mountain. And so, he became the mountain, tall, immovable, majestic. But just as Hiroto thought he had finally reached the ultimate form, he felt something sharp cutting into his body. A man with a hammer and chisel was striking him, breaking stones from his surface. It was a stonecutter. At that moment, Hiroto realized he was back where he started. True peace is not found by endlessly chasing more. For every role we envy, there is always another role beyond it. The cycle never ends. Real strength comes not from becoming something else, but from embracing who we already are. The stonecutter's journey reminds us, stop comparing, stop wishing to be someone else. The life you have right now holds its own beauty, if only you have the eyes to see it. So that was our first story, the tale of the stonecutter, a story that whispers to us, your life is enough, your path is worthy, your peace is not out there, it is within. In the next story, we will explore something even deeper. Why gratitude is the hidden key to abundance and how one man discovered it in the most unexpected way. Stay with me. In the first story, we learned that chasing endless desires only traps us in a circle. But what then is the secret to feeling fulfilled, even when life gives us little? The answer is hidden in the second tale, a story of gratitude. Long ago, in a fertile valley surrounded by rivers, lived a farmer named Takumi. Takumi was hardworking, but life was often unfair to him. Some years, drought destroyed his crops, Other years, storms washed away his fields. One day, after weeks of heavy rains, Takumi stood before his farm, ruined once again. His crops had been swept away by the flood, leaving nothing but mud. Broken and hopeless, he cried out, "Why does life always take from me? What wrong have I done? When will I finally receive something good?" That night, Takumi dreamt of walking up a misty mountain path. At the top, he found a monk sitting quietly beside a stream. The monk looked at him and said, "Why do you weep, farmer?" Takumi replied bitterly, "My life is empty. Everything is taken from me. I have nothing left, no harvest, no joy, no reason to smile." The monk handed Takumi a small wooden bowl. "Look at this bowl. What do you see?" Takumi peered inside and said, "Nothing. It is empty, just like my life." The monk smiled gently. "Empty, or ready to be filled?" Takumi frowned. "I don't understand." The monk continued, "When your hands are full, when your bowl is overflowing, nothing new can enter. But when your bowl is empty, it is open to receive. Loss is not punishment. Loss is preparation." When Takumi awoke, the dream lingered in his heart. For the first time, he walked across his ruined farm not with anger, but with curiosity. He noticed how the floodwaters had left the soil rich with new minerals. He noticed how the weeds had been washed away, leaving the ground cleaner. He noticed how the river had carved a new path that made irrigation easier. Suddenly, what he saw as destruction became opportunity. Takumi began planting again, this time with patience and gratitude, and in the following season, his farm grew greener than ever before. Neighbors came to him, asking how he managed to recover so well. Takumi only smiled and said, "My bowl was empty so life could fill it again." Gratitude does not mean ignoring pain or pretending problems don't exist. It means shifting the way we see them. Where most see emptiness, the grateful heart sees possibility. Where most see loss, the grateful heart sees preparation for renewal. The truth is, life constantly empties our bowls, through challenges, heartbreaks, setbacks. But it is never to leave us broken. It is to create space for something new to enter. If we can meet those empty moments with gratitude, we discover that what looks like an ending is often the beginning of abundance. So the farmer's story whispers to us, gratitude is not about having everything. It is about seeing everything differently. Your losses may actually be your invitations. Your emptiness may be your doorway to fullness. In the next story, we will step into the world of a wandering monk and discover why control is an illusion and how surrender, something we fear the most, may actually be the key to freedom. Stay with me. The third story is about to begin. In the last story, the farmer learned that emptiness is not a curse but a preparation for abundance. Now let us walk with a monk who discovered that true peace does not come from control, but from surrendering to the flow of life itself. There once lived a wandering monk named Rohin, who traveled from village to village, carrying nothing but his robes and a wooden staff. He was known for his calm presence. People said that even when chaos raged around him, he seemed untouched, like a still lake under the moon. But Rohin had a secret struggle. Deep inside, he always wanted to control life. He planned his journeys carefully, measured every step, and expected the world to obey his order. One evening, as he crossed a dense forest, the sky darkened suddenly, winds howled, trees bent low, and a fierce storm began to rage. Rohin tried to hold on to his staff, but the wind tore it away. He clung to a rock, shouting at the heavens, "This storm should not be here. I must reach the monastery by nightfall. Why does nature not obey?" The harder he resisted, the more the storm pushed against him. Branches struck his shoulders, rain blinded his eyes, and his body trembled with exhaustion. Finally, unable to fight anymore, he let go of the rock and collapsed under a tree. There, half-conscious, he whispered, "I surrender. If the storm wishes to take me, let it take me. If it wishes to pass, let it pass. I am no longer fighting." Something shifted. As he stopped resisting, his body relaxed. The fear that had gripped his chest melted away. He realized that the storm was not against him. It was simply the storm. It had no anger, No intention. It just was. Rohan closed his eyes and felt the rain wash his skin, the thunder vibrate through his chest, the wind dance around him. Instead of an enemy, he began to see the storm as a teacher. When morning arrived, the forest was calm. The storm had passed on its own, without asking his permission, without needing his resistance. Rohan rose to his feet, lighter than before. For the first time, he understood. Peace is not found by controlling storms. Peace is found by accepting storms as part of the journey. In our modern lives, we try so hard to control everything. Our careers, our relationships, our digital worlds, even our emotions. But like Rohan, we eventually learn that the more we grip, the more life resists. Storms, whether they are failures, conflicts, or uncertainties, cannot always be stopped, but they can be faced with surrender. And surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. When you surrender, you stop wasting energy on what you cannot change. Instead, you conserve strength for what you can. You become like a bamboo tree, bending with the wind but never breaking. So the monk's journey shows us that control is an illusion. The tighter we cling, the more life slips away. But when we let go, we finally experience freedom. In the next and final story of today's video, we will meet a king who discovered that even power and glory fade, and that true legacy is built not by possessions, but by humility. Stay with me. Our fourth and last story awaits. In the last story, the wandering monk discovered that storms cannot be controlled, only accepted. Now let us step into the grand palace of a king, a man who had everything yet still searched for the one thing he could never hold on to: true legacy. Long ago, in a prosperous kingdom, there lived a mighty king named Samrat Aryan. His empire stretched beyond mountains and seas. His soldiers were countless, his wealth immeasurable. Poets sang his praises, and monuments rose in his name. And yet, as he grew older, a quiet fear began to whisper in his heart. What will remain when I am gone? Will my name fade like dust in the wind? One night, unable to sleep, the king called his wise minister and asked, "Tell me truly, what is the greatest way for a king to be remembered? Through temples? Through gold? Through victories?" The minister bowed and replied softly, "Your Majesty, stones crumble, treasures vanish, and victories are forgotten. But a humble act of service lives on in the hearts of people long after the crown has fallen." These words struck the king deeply. The next day, he disguised himself as a common traveler and walked among his people. He listened to their stories, helped the poor, ate with the hungry, and comforted the sick. At first, the people did not know who he was, but they felt his kindness, his humility, his humanity. And slowly, a new kind of respect grew, not for the king on the throne, but for the man who cared. Years later, when King Aryan passed away, the palace bells tolled and the people wept, not because they had lost a ruler, but because they had lost a friend. And in that moment, his minister's words came true. A humble act of service had built a legacy stronger than any monument. True legacy is not what you own. It is not carved in stone nor written in gold. It is carried in the hearts of those you touch with humility, kindness, and truth. We chase power, wealth, and recognition, believing they will make us immortal. But history teaches us, greatness fades, but humility remains eternal. So tonight we walked together through 4 timeless Zen-inspired tales. The wise potter, who taught us that emptiness creates space for possibility. The farmer, who learned that patience transforms setbacks into new beginnings. The monk, who surrendered to the storm and discovered freedom in letting go. And finally, the king, who found that humility creates a legacy that outlives even the grandest empires. These are not just old stories. They are mirrors reflecting truths we need more than ever in 2025. And now, dear friends, I leave you with a question. In a world that chases speed, success, and recognition, what do you believe is more powerful? To achieve more, or to let go more? Think about this deeply, because in our next video, I will share a forgotten Zen story that reveals the hidden strength of letting go. a story even more surprising than tonight's. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Kai's Mindset Mastery and join me again, because the journey of wisdom is just beginning. Until then, breathe deeply, live humbly, and remember, true mastery begins within.